Okay, welcome back to the channel, everybody. Let's get into this Manchester United news. And for the second day in a row, we're talking Manchester United takeover. What is this? Is this the middle of June? Is this October last year? We haven't had so much takeover news in months. But we want to get talking about this first and foremost. We talked about it a little bit last night on the show, of course, and that is David Beckham and his links to the Qatari group trying to buy Manchester United. So it's come out today. It's very, very interesting news. Now, look, it doesn't state for a minute that David Beckham is going to join the bid as another part of the Al Thani overall group, but it does say that he is being asked, number one, to step up his involvement in the deal and to become kind of like a leading figure in this, to become the public face of the Qatari bid for Manchester United. So let's get into what has been coming out today. So first and foremost, coming in from TalkSport, David Beckham has been offered an international ambassador role should Qatar be successful in buying Manchester United. David Beckham has been in direct contact with the Qataris and has been asked to become more vocal publicly in his support of their bid. So there's definitely something in this. And I'm asking you guys in the poll as well tonight, do you guys think this makes any kind of a difference? Personally, I don't think it really does in terms of what we can expect to see from the Glazer family, because I don't think that David Beckham being involved really is going to make a lot of difference to them, because to the Glazers, as we know, it's going to come down to the money. That's what it's always been about. It's always going to be about. They don't really care about the public opinion, about how the media see it, how the fans see it, how the clubs see it. It's just been about the cold hard money. That's all it's ever been with the Glazer family. But this might be interesting. I feel like this could be something that can help sway public opinion. Now, look, of course, there's been a lot of people either for Qatar, against Qatar, but mostly in the media. I think that's kind of where we're seeing a lot of the negatives coming out, and there definitely has been a media preference towards Sir Jim Ratcliffe's bid throughout this process. I feel like this might be something to try get that aspect under control and on side. I don't know if it makes too much of a difference. I really don't. Jeremy says no difference. The Glazers just care about the money. I would agree with that one first and foremost. Jarl says as well, I don't think Beckham has an effect on it at all. Also, he has his own club to take care of. But if Miami becomes a feeder club to United, that would be interesting. Yeah, look, maybe that's something we could see, would be Inter Miami buying up a lot of the best up and coming young players in the sort of American region, South America, Mexico, those sort of North and South America, really, and becoming a kind of international feeder club. Maybe that's something that could happen. Daz says more the high profile behind the Qatar, the better. Yeah, look, I feel like that's what it's about as well. I feel like it's getting a public face. It's getting someone that people know, someone that people like and they love and they've fond memories of. And I feel like David Beckham fits all of those criteria. I guess throughout the entire process, the actual guy bidding for the club, Sheikh Jassim, we don't really know a lot about this man. We haven't really got a lot of photos. We haven't really had any public interviews. We've seen bits and pieces what the Qataris have put out there, but I feel like Beckham coming out would be more of a focal point that more people can relate to. I feel like that's kind of where we're going with that one. Jarl says Beckham is not only located in America, but is even located where the Glazers themselves live. Yeah, of course, both within the state of Florida. But yeah, look, takeover, it's kind of dominating at the moment. We want to touch on some other stories as well. So coming in from Fabrizio Romano this afternoon on the takeover, I really hope that it is decided soon. It's really having an impact on the club. In April and May, the situation was described as 90% done. It has not progressed since. So we're still stuck in the mud. We're still stuck with the handbrake on this deal. It's obviously going to take more to try get this over the line. It really is. Greg's down there saying the Glazers are just leeches. Yeah, look, and that's what it's going to come down to. I don't think it's going to be too much about public opinion or what the fans are saying, because they haven't cared for 20 years. Why would they suddenly care now if they're looking to sell anyway? I think thinking about it logically, I don't know. But look, other updates coming in. Alex Crook confirming that story about David Beckham as well. So He says David Beckham has been offered a role by the Qatari based bid should they be successful in their takeover of Manchester United. It would be an ambassadorial post at Manchester United, dealing with international relations as well, if they're taken over by Sheikh Jassim. Obviously, a lot of that's going to come down to, is Beckham going to be willing to take that as well? He might be willing to for the bid and the sale process, but is he going to say, is he going to leave the club that he owns to come be an ambassador for Manchester United, shake hands at UEFA events, shake hands with the FIFA representatives? I really doubt that as well. But I do feel like this is something maybe he could work with in a public sense until it's done. You know, that could be something we do see. Who else we got in the comments? Daz, uh, Bex has ties with Qatar since the PSG days. Yes, of course he does. It is a long running relationship of probably this last 10 years or so. So it definitely, there is a relationship there. There is a confidence between each other there. Maybe something does become of this, but until we see more money on the table, until we see something change with either the Qatari bid or the Radcliffe bid, one of them pulls out, some of them come back with better terms, something like that, do we really see a lot of change coming of Manchester United with this takeover? I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. I feel like something else has to give. And I feel like the Glazer family are more than capable of waiting this one out as well, guys. They're more than capable of sitting and outlasting the other guy's bidding. That's just my personal opinion. That's my gut feeling on this. I hope I'm wrong. I hope they cave, and I hope they take a bid eventually. So I've asked you guys in the poll as well, would David Beckham joining the Qatari bid make a difference in your opinion? We have 84% of you guys saying yes, 0% going for the not sure, and 16% going for no, it would not make any real difference as well. Ashid is down there saying, well, he wouldn't want to reveal all that about himself until he gets the club fully. I mean, maybe. I'm not 100% sure. Like we don't really know a lot about Sheikh Jassim as well. That is a truth, unfortunately. Jarl is down there. Beckham was an ambassador for Qatar when it came to the World Cup. Yes, of course he was. So we've seen this sort of relationship, this business relationship, working relationship, whatever we want to call it. It has been there for a while. And maybe it's going to be used once again by the Qataris to try get it done and over the line. Who else have we got as well? Jeremy says Glazers probably thinking Beckham is the name of a breakfast sandwich. They might well be as well. Thinking, why is the voting banner white? The vote. Oh, on the poll, I'm not sure. Like I've got it on my iPad here, just watching it back, looking out for lag or any of those issues, but it's blue for me, so I'm not 100% sure on that one, man. Look, let's move on really quickly. Want to get talking about some other stories coming out. Jadon Sancho, once again, we're not getting anywhere on this issue at the club anytime soon. We're not getting the resolution we wanted to see either, guys. You know, it's frustrating as well. Rob Dawson has said there's a growing feeling at Manchester United that Sancho's career may already be over. Look, we've been talking about this for a long time, guys. You know, we really have. It comes down to Sancho against the manager. The manager wants an apology. Sancho doesn't think he's in the wrong and doesn't want to give an apology. So I feel like that's kind of where we are with this situation. It's going to rumble on. I think it's interesting that we're seeing Jadon Sancho at a lot of the matches for the academy teams at Carrington. I think that's interesting. I feel like he's maybe making a point to be seen, supporting the younger players there as well. But Matt Hughes from the Daily Mirror as well has said Ten Hag is demanding Sancho makes both a public apology and an apology in front of his teammates before he can return to the squad, a stance which has the full backing of his employers at Manchester United from the board level. But 5 weeks after the Arsenal game, there is no sign of rapprochement and there is no sign of the Sancho apology coming. So that's kind of where we are with that. When Daz is saying, if I was Beckham, I'd try get a buy-in. Look, I think the thing is there as well, the Qataris have been very clear that they don't really want to see anybody else on their bid. It's always been 100% their ownership or nothing with them. So it's always been 100%. I would be surprised if Beckham was attached to any sort of bid formally. Now, like, can he be involved in it? Yes. Could he be an ambassador of sorts? Yeah, he definitely could be. But he is still owning his own football club as well, which kind of complicates things. It definitely does. But it's going to be an interesting couple of weeks, guys. I've been expecting to see some sort of takeover updates and progress around about this time of the year. I feel like when we were in the transfer window, things were focused on that. Then it was mostly focused on the start to the football season. But now we find ourselves in a position where there's a 2 week break now, and then we play 4 matches, and then we have another 2 week break. I feel like in the lead up to Christmas and up until the new year, we're going to see some progression on this takeover deal. I feel like that has to be the scenario. That has to be what we see, because I think even the club, even the Glazers will want to go into the new year, coming up to the new financial year in April, of course, as well, with an idea of what's going to happen with the sale. Will it happen? Will it not happen? How much is it going to be? Who's it going to? I feel like these things need to be addressed. Now, the fact that they're not addressed, it doesn't surprise us, because we're dealing with the Glazer family, of course, and this is Manchester United. Nothing gets done quickly. Honestly, it takes us weeks upon weeks to sign a player. Obviously, it's going to take us over a year to sell a football club. You know, that's kind of the position we're in as well, guys. Let's see, Sinkin down there, forget Sancho. Man doesn't care about him or his apology. We need to sell him, and we ain't getting a tune out of him. Look, I think it's time for him to go as well. I don't see him coming back at Manchester United. I think it could take an apology, which he doesn't look willing to make, which I think is a big issue. I think as well, in terms of his form, he would have to work a lot harder, both on the training ground and on the pitch, than what he has done throughout his United career so far. So it could take a lot for him to come back. And is he going to do that for Erik Ten Hag, a manager who's had such a massive falling out with? If Ten Hag was sacked and a new manager came in, maybe it's a possibility. But I don't think with Ten Hag at the club, we're going to see Sancho come back. I really, really would be surprised. Sinkin says, why is Ten Hag not going mad on these players on the pitch? He's too quiet on the touchline. I was fuming on Saturday. I feel like we're watching Sunday League football. Yeah, look, I would agree with that as well. I think it was interesting, though, because we've seen a report come out midweek, and it basically said Erik Ten Hag is of the opinion that he cannot go too heavily in on these players, because mentality-wise, they're fragile. He cannot criticize them too much. He feels that he has to hold back his words because they're not strong enough to take the criticism that he wants to give them. And that for me is a massive issue. If that is even remotely true, that is an enormous issue at this club. And it is something we've felt for a long time. The mentality has not been right across the board. It really, really hasn't. But I'm hoping it's not true. But those were the reports that came out as well. So we're gonna have to find out, I guess. I feel like that's where we kind of are. Daz is down there. Greenwood has an easier way back than Sancho at this point. He probably does, man. I still wouldn't put it past Manchester United going out and bringing Greenwood back next year. I think amidst the calls for him to be let go by the club, amidst the club's indecisiveness and poor decision making on that, they've quietly sent him out on loan, and he could always just come back next year. That is the real possibility. Sinkin down there, he is getting paid a lot of money. Yeah, look, these guys are getting paid a lot of money. They really are. I think at £350,000 a week, if the manager doesn't think you're working hard enough, he's entitled to say it. And I watched back the clip because it was going around on social media earlier again. What Erik Ten Hag said wasn't particularly damaging. He wasn't really going out of his way to make a point. He was talking about several players being absent in the team through injuries, suspension, or whatnot. And he just said for Sancho, the levels in training were not high enough. And that was all he really said. And I don't think he really went out of his way and said, look, Sancho, he's lazy. He doesn't work hard. He complains. I gave him 3 months off last year when he needed time away from football. He did that and he came back. He did very little. He didn't say any of that. He came out and just said the levels were not high enough. So I do feel like it's a very defensive reaction as well. Let's see, who else we got down below? Luman's in the chat as well. Good to see you, man. Jeremy says that fundamentally compromises Ten Hag's ability to manage the team. It does. It does. I was saying this the other night as well. If that's true, that's massively worrying. If you cannot give the players criticism because you think they're not going to be able to take it, that's a massive issue. It really is. And another issue that I do feel like we have is players making these ridiculous decisions. We see it with Casemiro, we see it with Marcus Rashford, with Bruno Fernandes. Players getting on the ball, meant to be our best players, and they're playing the ball quick so fastly to nobody. They're losing the ball time and time and time again. Either they're being instructed to do so, which is an issue on the coaching, or they're not listening to what the coaches are saying. And either of those options are genuinely very concerning as well. I think maybe the players are taking it upon themselves to do that, whether intentional or not, because some of the quotes that have come out at the weekend were very interesting. I think that one quote Ten Hag said about Christian Eriksen and Casemiro really, really does show that maybe he's not entirely happy with these players who were previously deemed undroppable, the key men, the guys we could not play without. When Erik Ten Hag is saying about Casemiro, I took him off because we wanted to play more football, I think that is a damning statement. Daz is down there. We have a lot of crybabies in the squad. Absolutely, we do as well. Luman says, seeing the lineups and subs, do you think Ten Hag is a fair manager? I think he is quite fair. I think he does still have his favourites, but I think every manager does, regardless. I would agree with that. I don't think any manager is completely fair. I think they're always going to have players they trust. They're always going to have players that they like more than other players. That's always the way of it. But I do think Ten Hag is seeing that a lot of these players who he thought he could trust cannot trust anymore. I think Casemiro would never have been substituted at half-time last season. We would not have seen that. I think Rashford going off this last 3 matches after 60 minutes, we wouldn't have seen that last year either. I think Bruno Fernandes is getting on thin ice. I think Onana is lucky in the sense that there's nobody really to step into his position, and he is still a new player coming into the team. I think that buys him time, but he does need to up his levels. But yeah, look, he does still have his favourite players. I think every manager does. I think when you look at Pep Guardiola at Man City, playing Bernardo Silva in the number 6 position ahead of Calvin Phillips, I think that's an issue because you have a player there who's perfectly suited to play that position, and we're playing Bernardo Silva instead of him. These are the type of things you see all the time, and all managers have that as well. I think Arteta has it. I think you see it with Pep. You'll probably see it with Klopp as well. There's certain players they just like better. That's always the way of it. Jasper, good evening to you, man. Sinkin's done there. We have to clear the decks next season. We cannot continue with these players. We need to buy players with pace and power. That's where the game is moving to. No, I completely agree. I think United don't have the legs that a lot of these teams do. I think watching Tottenham Hotspur this season, for instance, been really, really good. But they have a lot of legs, a lot of strength, and a lot of running power in that midfield combined with the technical ability. I think players, some of the best players in the world right now, on form, have that sort of strength, they have that pace, they have the power and the technical ability. It's not just about being a good footballer, it's also about being a good athlete. If you're going to be playing pressing football, I think Jude Bellingham's a perfect example of that. I think Paul Pogba could have been that if not for other issues. And there was a lot of them as well. Good to see you guys as well. So 30 votes on the poll, by the way. So 80% of you guys saying yes, Beckham would make a difference to the Qatar bid. We have 7% saying not sure, and 13% are saying no, he wouldn't make any difference to that bid either. Luman is asking as well, what has made the situation worse is Sancho coming out so publicly. No, I completely agree with that as well, Luman. I think if Sancho came out with that public statement, then I think the club and Erik Ten Hag are completely correct in asking for a public apology. I think that's only fair. Daz says the last technically gifted player we had was Juan Mata. I think we have some technically gifted players, maybe not to the Juan Mata degree. I think Luke Shaw is very good technically. I think Martinez, when fit, yeah, that's another one probably. I would say you're probably looking at, I don't know, Mason Mount, technically secure, maybe Sofian Amrabat, but it's the levels aren't high enough, and I would say that's a big issue for Manchester United. I seriously would. Any more thoughts, guys? Make sure you get them in down below. I want to get talking about a couple of other stories coming out today as well. So we've looked at Sancho. We had a look at the David Beckham stuff. For anybody who might have missed the start of the show, there is a lot of coming out tonight that David Beckham will be joining forces with the Qatari bid for Manchester United. So that will come in the form of him being an ambassador for the bid, a public face for the bid, a spokesperson, and maybe taking on a role at Manchester United should the Qatari bid be successful. So that's an interesting one for sure. But guys, if you think it makes a difference, get your vote in down below. Let me know on that one. Emmanuel says, do we think we'll keep Amrabat after his loan spell? I think that's a good question as well. I think we should. I think we should be looking at ideally two midfielders next season. Maybe we keep Amrabat as well. Maybe that's what we could look at. I think the buy options around 20 million. That's not a bad price. I think Amrabat's a good player, but I would like to see other players come in as well, because I think we could move Casemiro on. I think we should move Christian Eriksen on. Probably going to move Donny van de Beek on. So that's 3 going out. That leaves us with Mount and Bruno, maybe Amrabat, Kobe Manu, Hannibal. So we would like to see some more midfield players brought in as well, definitely. Sinkin says, shout out to the women's team. That's where I get my positivity from the huge game tomorrow for them, Champions League qualifier against PSG. Yeah, absolutely. I have been watching some of the women's matches as well. Definitely really doing a lot better than what they have done. They're looking more of a serious side. The likes of Mary Earps, and they're doing well in goals, of course. And I think they had a 1-1 with Arsenal in the last match. Saw the goal being added in that one as well. Liman, has Amrabat been impressive so far? Maybe not yet. No, Amrabat has. I will say this about Sofian Amrabat. Sofian Amrabat is not the flashiest midfield player, but he's exactly what we need. He is the guy to get on the ball and calm things down, be the metronome, play a lot of passes, short and long, and it moves the other team about, and that's what I do like about it. Looking at his last match against Brentford, he played 37 forward passes. That was far more than any other player on the pitch. Even the likes of Bruno Fernandes or Christian Eriksen, Casemiro, those types of players, far more forward passes. So I think he's a really, really top level player. Sinkin says it was 2-1. Sorry, 2-2, sorry. Yeah, look, I might have missed. I think I saw the goals as they were coming up as well. Do need to check out more of the women's stuff. We'll be probably watch some of it with the international break now as well. Jarl says, I think Isaac Hansen will take over from Eriksen next season. That's another player with a lot of potential for sure. I think what we need is some genuine strength in there. I think there's a lot of potential options. I think Onana maybe from Arsenal, sorry, not Arsenal, Everton could be an interesting shout in that midfield kind of area. I would have really liked Matheus Nunes. I think he would have been a good player for us to sign. Profile wise, would be that nice box to box type presence. Hopefully, we don't see another go for Frankie de Jong either, though that's not ideal for me. But I do think the midfield area needs a little bit of an overhaul. I think in total we would be looking at a lot of players signed next season. I think it has to be. I think we're looking definitely at another centre back, at least one. I would like another right back, maybe another midfielder, maybe some more forward players as well, depending on what happens with Sancho, Pellistri, guys like that, what happens between now and the end of the season. Sinkin says, Arsenal scored last minute, equalised. That's right. I do remember that, actually. Drop a like on the video as well, guys. We're up to 29 likes, so thanks very much for that so far. But yeah, look, I want to watch more of the women's stuff as well, but we do need 2 centre-backs next season. I think that has to be the shopping list. 2 centre-backs, a right-back, 2 midfielders, maybe a striker. We're maybe looking at 6 players, which is going to be a big one as well. Maybe some kind of forward option. I think Højlund will be vastly improved by this time next year as well. So I think we're going to get the improvement from him, of course, but it's questions about Rashford, it's questions about Garnacho, what's going to happen between those two on the left, and then we've got Anthony, Pellistri, Ahmad on the right. So things do need to change as well. Maybe some more options, but I think the defence, I think midfield have to be the priority positions to look at once again. And it's a lot of money we spent on those areas in the last 10 years or so, and not too many players have really and truly worked out so far. Any more thoughts, guys? Make sure you get them in down below. Let me go through some of the other stories coming out today as well. So wanted to get talking about, was it, it's not that, we got the Christian Eriksen interview, of course, as well. Got Scott McTominay. Yeah, I think maybe we'll have a look at McTominay just for a moment as well. Um, because it's an interesting situation. I think what you see from McTominay is what you get. Very professional player. Look, we know he's not a good player, but he always plays with that passion. And it took a lot. It would have been very easy for him to come on and put no effort in because Manchester United tried to sell him during the summer, but he at least focused. He worked hard in that one. But just going back to Sancho as well, this was the other story we wanted to look at. Let me check the comments as well. Le Mans says, who will Ten Hag get rid of? I would say he's probably going to get rid of Maguire next year. I think he's probably going to get rid of Varane and Casemiro. So that could be 3. I think we could look at Van de Beek going for sure. Martial going to go on a free. That's going to be 5 players total there. You're probably then looking, I don't know, Sancho as well as like 6 players. Then there's other questions, the likes of Christian Eriksen in there, the likes of Scott McTominay. What happens to those type of players as well? Irfan says Bruno, Mount, Anthony, Harry Maguire, Sancho, Varane, and Casemiro have to go. I think, yeah, look, I think a lot of those players we could look at moving on. I don't think we'll be moving on Bruno. I don't think we should move on Mount. Anthony, I think there's more to come from, but a lot depends on what he does this season, of course. Maguire, I think we can sell. Sancho, Varane, Casemiro, yeah, I think if good money comes in for them, I feel like Casemiro, I feel like Varane. I feel like you got 2 different scenarios there. I think Casemiro doesn't look at his best anymore. I think Varane still looks really good when he plays, but it's the injuries, and I don't think we can rely on it. So if the Saudi Arabians come in with big offers, £50 million for each of them, absolutely, I would take that. We need René Mielenstein back. He's the best on improving players individually. Yeah, look, it definitely will happen as well. If René Mielenstein came back, I would agree with that as well. I'm surprised he didn't. I do feel like he would have been a good link between Ten Hag and the club, of course. Zinkin says we need... Oh, sorry, I've done that already, sorry. Jarl says we're losing Martial in the summer. Do we need another striker? Yeah, I would say so as well. I think definitely need another striker. Rajat, good to see you, man. Hope all's good. As well. But yeah, look, guys, I think this Sancho deal's looking interesting. So coming in from Matt Hughes as well, Manchester United will look to offload Jadon Sancho in January after being told by Erik Ten Hag he's a disruptive influence on the club's other players. Ten Hag is understood to have told the club that the attitude of other players in training has improved since Sancho has left the first team group as well, and he's still demanding an apology, both public and private, to Erik Ten Hag and his teammates before he can make a return to the squad. This has the full backing of his employers at Manchester United. So the club are taking Erik Ten Hag's side in this. It's going to be interesting to see what happens on this one, guys. It's going to be an interesting couple of weeks, for sure. Irfan says Rafa Leao and Kvaratskhelia. I don't think we're going to get both those players. I would be surprised if we go for either, to be honest with you, man. Sniper Pass, Rashford has to be dropped. Looks disinterested, putting 0 effort in since he signed that big contract start. Garnacho is hungry. Love the show. Thank you very much, man. Much appreciated. Yeah, look, I think you could play some more Garnacho. And I would say for a long time, I do think Garnacho struggles when playing full 90 minutes. I don't know if he's quite there just yet. I think he still looks better coming off the bench. But the only way you're going to get Garnacho better playing full 90s is to give him full 90s as well. You know, that's going to give him the experience on how to deal and how to work a defense that maybe are not tired, that maybe are ready for him in the match. So that will definitely help him as well. Rashad wants to see Neto for the left wing. I think, yeah, look, I think Neto's a really good player. It's about keeping the guy fit, but if that can be done, you've one hell of a player there for sure. Sinkin says can't have 2 of the same players. Yeah, look, oh, that's in the Irfan thing as well. Stefan, how many goals should Martial score this season? And also, would you give him a new contract, or would you not? Or wouldn't you, irrespective of goal numbers? Look, I think the thing is with Martial, I think the goal figures will always be low, and they will be low because he's not going to play a lot of matches. And it's unfortunate. What Anthony Martial should have been to what he has become is very disappointing. I wouldn't be giving him a new contract next season. I just think it's time that we moved on. And I think, yeah, look, while he might still offer something to the team, I think we've got to look beyond that. I think we can get better players in, and it's more money off the wage bill because I don't think anyone's really going to buy Martial going by his injuries and stuff. So I think that's an issue there for sure. Um, Sinking to it for dinner as well. Liao wouldn't go anywhere. New deal. Yeah, I think he has just signed a new deal. Irfan wants to see Neto as well. And Liman says a lot of players fed up and jumping to other clubs. Bowen is who United should look at for the right wing. That's an interesting shot as well, Chatsport, for sure, man. But he has just signed that new deal as well. I think, yeah, look, I think the right wing still needs improved. I think Anthony could do it. I feel like Anthony could improve, but there are definitely question marks over that right wing for sure. I think we definitely could improve on some of the players we have already there. So it will be interesting to see what happens there if we go and into the market for somebody. We do have good players coming through there in Palistri and Ahmad, but probably not at the level just yet. If you're looking further back, you've probably got Shelley coming through as well on the right hand side. Definitely can play there, but I do think United need. I think we need something on that side. I do. I really do. I've seen talks of Serge Gnabry didn't really get me going too much. But it could be interesting as well. Another player we could be looking at signing as well, guys, and this is something we just talked about in terms of incomings for next year, where we need to look at, in our opinion, and that is at right back. So coming in from Fabrizio Romano, Manchester United are still considering signing Jeremy Frimpong. In future, the player would like to return to English football at some point, and Ten Hag is a big fan. Could Jeremy Frimpong be the right back that eventually comes in and replaces Wan-Bissaka and Dalot? That could be an interesting one there. I think Dalot has done quite well recently. I think he has definitely improved. I think his in possession stuff is actually kind of solid as well. Irfan says Ahmad is better than Anthony. And Greg says Rashford is very much a purple patch player. We need more consistency out of these types of players. Yeah, look, we do. Not every player is going to score goals every week. You know, that's kind of the way goal scoring goes across the board. Wayne Rooney was very much a player who scored goals, maybe 4 goals in 2 or 3 matches, and then he wouldn't score for 2 or 3, and then he would score again. Some players are naturally like that. Some players score a goal a match, and that's what they do across the season. I feel like Rashford. I feel like the criticism wouldn't be as high if we weren't so dependent on him for the goals either. I think that is an issue as well. Um, Greg's down there as well. Oh, sorry, I've seen that as well. Jeremy says Jeremy's a good name as well. Yeah, nothing wrong with the name Jeremy, of course. But yeah, look, I think as well, guys, there's a lot of work needs to be done in this team. I think it takes us back to the takeover. It really does. I think the latest deal offered by Jim Radcliffe, this £1.5 billion for 25%, that doesn't do anything for us because that doesn't clear the debt. That doesn't get us a stadium. That just puts money into the Glazer family pockets and into the pockets of the shareholders. That for me is a big issue as well. Irfan wants to see Per Schurz and Kevin Danso. I mean, maybe. I think Bakayoko is an interesting one if we want to look at the Dutch league again. I think, is it Santiago Jimenez? Or I think maybe also playing as well. I think he scored a lot of goals this year. Maybe a player worth looking at as well. But yeah, look, I definitely think United's got work to do. And I think forward options are complete necessity as well. Look, guys, let me know your thoughts down below. Keep voting on the poll as well. Just in terms of the David Beckham story, we have 77% of you guys saying Beckham would make a difference to the actual Qatari bid. That would make a difference to where we're going with that one. We have 8% saying not sure. We have 15% saying no, it probably wouldn't make too much of a difference overall with the Qatari bid. So, I don't know. I feel like it would be one that maybe we're looking at could change public perception. I don't think it really changes a lot. The man says with Beckham back, Jim Radcliffe, if he approaches him, I don't know. I don't think he will. I think the reason being is because there's a long-standing relationship with David Beckham and the Qataris going back to the PSG days, and he was an ambassador of sorts for the World Cup. He was an ambassador for PSG as well, and that's kind of why they went out and bought him as well. Rajat would like to see Frimpong. Yeah, look, I think Frimpong's a really good player. I think would give us the attacking impetus we need from the right backs. I think that would be good for us overall, but it's questions over the defensive stuff as well with Frimpong. But I would like to see him signed. I feel like we could get a nice balance out of him and maybe Delo. Hey, also got down there Christian down there. Totally agree. Ahmad will save the club millions. If you didn't follow the loanies last year, then you're not a Man United fan. Look at Hannibal now at his commitment. Yeah, look, Hannibal impressed last year as well at Birmingham. I thought maybe he would have went to Luton Town. That loan was on. It didn't happen in the end because of injuries. I think that would have maybe been better for him in the long term. I think his performances this year have been good. I would like to see Ahmad given a chance. I feel like there's a better player there than Facundo Pellistri. And look, I like Pellistri, but I think the thing is with Pellistri as well, a lot of people weren't happy with Anthony's performances, and we were looking for the alternative. We've seen this before at Manchester United. You know, we weren't happy with McTominay and Fred playing in the number 6 position, so we thought maybe we'll try Donny van de Beek there. And I don't think that was ever really going to work out. I think Pellistri's a good player. I think there's ability there, there's potential there, but I do think Ahmad has the higher ceiling. He has the more talent, he has the more ability. So it will be interesting to see what happens once he comes back from injury, because of course with Anthony now back in the fold, that's going to raise big questions on the right hand side. Will Pellistri keep getting minutes? Will Ahmad manage to work his way into the team? Will Anthony just play every week? What's going to happen there? That's my question. Irfan's asking, what's my best 11 for Man United right now? I would say my best 11 would be probably Onana in goal. I feel like we haven't seen Bayern there yet, and I know there's a lot more to come from Andre Onana. I just know there is. I think right back, probably Delo. If we're going from players available, that's what we'll do. So players not injured or suspended at the moment. I think you got to play. I think it's got to be Maguire and maybe Johnny Evans at centre back, because I just think Lindelof has been so poor. Left back, it depends if Reguilon's back or whatever. I think maybe put Reguilon in there, and then moving into midfield, I think you can make changes here. I would like to see Amrabat in there, Mount, maybe Bruno or Hannibal. I think maybe we could do without Casemiro with the minute. I would like to see Garnacho on the left. I could take Rashford out, no problem, put Højlund through the middle, and maybe put Pellistri or put Anthony on the right. I think that gives us some changes on players who don't need to play there. Rashad says, need to sell Luke Shaw, average left back, and injured more than available. Look, I like Luke Shaw. I think the injury stuff is a concern with Shaw. I think, yeah, he definitely needs to work on his fitness as well, because he is picking up knocks again, which is concerning. He's getting close to the age of 30 as well, so that's going to be an issue. But what I will say as well is I think it's good timing if your name is Alvaro Fernandez, because he's doing well on loan in Spain. Maybe he comes back, and I think he's probably got more than Tyrell Malacia. I feel like Luke Shaw might be coming towards the end of his Manchester United career in a season or two. So maybe if you're Alvaro Fernandez, this is the right time to stick around as well. Rajat says United have scouted Ignacio and Tabedo for centre back. Yeah, look, I feel like out of the two, maybe Tabedo kind of does what we need more. But if we had to pick, if I could pick anyone, it could be Usman Diamond from Sporting, or maybe Antonio Silva. But I think Diamond is the better player for sure. Rosat says, do I prefer Maguire and Evans over Lindelof and Evans? Yeah, look, I'll say this. I've just been very unimpressed with Victor Lindelof this season, for sure. I think nearly every match we've seen mistakes from Lindelof and Casemiro, from Onana as well. I will say that as well, because he has been making mistakes. So I think both have issues to do there as well. Irfan says Luke Shaw out is facts, and Rajad says he was doing well at Granada. Yeah, look, he seemed to have a pretty good match against Barcelona as well. So I think there's a player in there for sure. How crazy would it be if Spurs won the league, let alone the year Keane left? Look, it would be funny, but it is still Tottenham Hotspur as well, so I don't think we can really back too much on them. I wouldn't be putting money on that club to win anything, truth be told. Even though they're playing well, and look, I might get clubbed up for saying that, but it's just genuinely looking at the last You can even look at the last 10 years of Tottenham as well. It's something we've seen a lot of at that club. So 45 votes on the poll as well, guys. We have 80% going for yes, it would make a difference having Beckham with the Qatar bid. 7% say not sure, and 15% are saying no, it wouldn't make any difference whatsoever as well. Drop a like on the video as well, guys. If you guys are new, please consider hitting the sub button as well. Only takes a second to do both, so really do appreciate that as well if you guys want to support the channel in that way. So yeah, look, I do think there's a lot of work that needs done to this team. I think when we look at this takeover, it's gotta start moving forward. Irfan saying Van der Ven is good. Yeah, Van der Ven's a very good player. Very good bit of work there from Tottenham getting him in. I think you've got a very athletic, very quick centre back, good on the ball, confident as well. I think there's a player for sure in there. But yeah, look, I think Ousmane Diamond would be my first choice centre back. Maybe then Antonio Silva or Ignacio Tobito as well. Good options, but I don't know if we're going to get too many of those players without a new ownership model, because obviously we didn't have a lot of money in the last summer transfer window. Now, we found money from somewhere, but the selling players, it took forever. We didn't get enough money as well for that. Most other clubs can get by that issue because the owners would invest the money themselves. We obviously do not have that luxury, of course. If that changes, then I think Manchester United will definitely be moving on up there. Sinkin says Lindelof been crap the last few games. Yeah, look, he has. That's my problem with Victor Lindelof. I think when you play him with Evans and you play him with Varane, they're all players and defenders who like to stand off. It's standoff defending. You know, normally you have two centre backs. One sweeps up and the other one engages, gets in for tackles and headers. That's why Varane and Martinez work well, because Varane wants to sweep up in behind. I think Martinez engages and gets into the tackles. I think when you have Varane and Lindelof, the issue you have is that both players want to stand off and they want to try cover the space. It's their instincts as well. And when that happens, it just makes space because nobody's engaging the attacking players. We've conceded the same goal many times as well this season, always the cutbacks. And the cutbacks happen because, number one, the fullbacks don't stop the cross coming in. Number two, the centre backs are not closing down the space. And number three, it's usually Eriksen or Casemiro have lost their man running in from midfield. That's a goal we've conceded so many times, and even when we haven't conceded it, we've been letting those in as well. Rajat's down there. Van der Ven does look good, and so does Romero. Yeah, he does. UCL Varane. That's Lindelof look good. Yeah, look, he does. He probably does cover for Lindelof as well. I think Maguire probably works slightly better, and I know it's not popular because it is Harry Maguire, but he is aggressive. He does come out to try win the tackles, win the headers. It might be more complementary to what we're trying to do. I think if you have Reguilon alongside him, maybe, then you've got someone to cover with that pace. But look, it's a far from ideal situation. For anyone who doesn't know, Manchester United have had 18 injuries so far this season. That's 18 injuries in just 10 matches. Like, this is I've never seen anything like this before as well, guys. You know, it's a real issue as well. And it's genuinely, I can't remember seeing it so badly before as well. It is frustration. For Erik Ten Hag, I'm sure he's very annoyed as well with it, and it definitely doesn't help Andre Onana trying to settle into a new club, having a constantly changing back four in front of him. I'm sure that isn't good for him whatsoever. But yeah, look, one player I would talk about, and I'd like to just talk about again, was Sofyan Amrabat. I think somebody did ask me earlier about maybe signing him full time. I think we should. I think some of the numbers and stuff he's been putting up as well, really good. I think looking at that last match, 65 passes complete, 3 incomplete, 4 ball recoveries. I think what he does well is kind of just holds the ball, moves it from side to side, makes the space, plays the ball forward. It's really simple, but it's so effective. Sinkin's on there. What is the update on Shaw and Wan-Bissaka? Never thought I'd say get Wan-Bissaka back in the gym. I'm not quite sure what the update is on Luke Shaw. I think Aaron Wan-Bissaka should be back after the international break. I think that was the expectation there. I think Luke Shaw maybe is the November internationals. So probably another month for Luke Shaw. I don't know what really was the issue. I know he played the first couple of matches. I think it came down to a hamstring or something, maybe a hamstring tear. Um, Daz is down there as well. Some players keep leaving us down over the course of a season. Absolutely, they do. And I think Ten Hag's realised that. I think he's learned that even though the likes of Rashford were good last year, Casemiro was good last year, Bruno was good last year, they can let you down. And I think especially with Rashford, we're seeing it this year. I think Casemiro held down the fort a lot last year. He was a really important player for us, but this year it's not been good enough. I think Varane, as good as he is, as important as what he is, I don't think the injuries are really being outweighed too much by his performances, because I think this might be his second or third injury already this season. So I think there's issues there as well. Rajat says Wan-Bissaka, an average right back. We need him back, but it's a long way until we can win the league. Yeah, look, it is. I don't think we win the league until the Glazer family are gone. And look, I know it's very easy to say Ten Hag should be doing better, and he should. I know it's very easy to say the players, they're not good enough, but I think we as fans know this. We know this football club better than anybody. We know what's going on better than anybody. And it's very easy for people on Talksport who just want to have a go at Manchester United managers and players for easy conversations and easy things to have a pop about. But the issues run a lot deeper than just what's happening on the pitch. They really do. Daz is down there. Wan-Bissaka is poor, always making last ditch tackles, giving corners away. I think, look, Wan-Bissaka is a player I like. I think he's a good player if you're coming up against other big teams. I think he's your guy. I think if you're going up against Man City, I would play Wan-Bissaka. If you're going up against Liverpool or Arsenal, I think Wan-Bissaka is your guy. Put him up against Martinelli. Put him up against Luis Diaz or Cody Gakpo. Put him up against Phil Foden. He'll probably take them out of the match for most of it anyway. I think every other match, I think Dalot is a better player. And I think defensively, it's not too much of a difference. I think what Dalot does on the ball is a lot better, though. Possession-wise, moving it forward, cutting inside, doing all that build-up play stuff, really important. And look, he should get more assists, but I think what he does outside of just crossing is really good. He also got down below. Jeremy says Wan-Bissaka is top class and works hard. Yeah, look, he does. He works hard and... Sorry. Hit the mic there, so sorry if there's a horrible noise. But yeah, look, he works hard, and I think there's a time and a place for players like that, absolutely. And I do think you need players like that in your team. But I would say as well, I think one thing I would note is on the ball, it's not brilliant. And look, he isn't a possession-based player. He's a good carrier of the ball. He does that a lot. It kind of looks like he's going to lose the ball. He cuts inside. He keeps the ball. His dribbling is actually really good. But I just think that there's more to Dalot's game than there is to Wan-Bissaka. Like, ideally, we get another right back, but I do think there's a real shortage of quality left backs and right backs as well that we could really go out and get. Irfan says sporting defender. Damon, is that Ignacio we're talking about? If we're talking sporting defenders, I would recommend everybody go out and watch Ousmane Diamond, because I think that is a special player. And at only 18 years old, I think I would go out and break the bank on the guy. I really would. Sinkin says, I've said it, as long as these players are at the club, we will not be serious. There's more letdowns and progress with these players that can't have reached their ceilings. They never win a league. Absolutely. I feel like what these players do is 2 steps forward, then they take a step back, and then they take 1 step forward, and then they take 3 steps back. And you're moving backwards and forward. Some years you might have 4 or 5 steps forward, and then the year after, you take 6 steps back. We probably took 3 or 4 steps forward last year, finishing 3rd in the league, winning a trophy, going on good unbeaten runs, having really good home form, making it to the FA Cup final as well. And then this season, we've probably took 4 steps backwards. It's not over. It isn't unrecoverable, because we can recover from this position. We're only 3 points worse off than we were last year, but it's going to take a lot to overcome the position that we're in. And these players have to be on board for it. They have to be ready for it. They need to be up for it. And they're going to have to fight. They're going to have to work. And if they're not going to do that, then this season's going nowhere as well. Irfan says Tapsoba is class. I think Tapsoba has I think, yeah, look, at one point there was a lot of potential in Tapsoba. He hasn't really fully recognized what he could have been just yet. I think he has had injuries as well. It will be interesting to see what he does moving forward, but I think there's better options out there for what Manchester United. I think Diamond, I think Antonio Silva. I think maybe you could look at Tabito. I think that's an interesting one. I think he played something like 157 passes at the weekend, but Diamond is my number one for that one as well. Sinkin says, except Casemiro and Ericsson and Varane, all Inter Milan, the rest do not know how to win a league. Yeah, no, they don't. They don't. But I would go beyond that as well. Sinkin and Sell, a lot of these players don't know how to finish top four on a consistent basis because they don't know that either. You know, they've struggled to do that for a long time, and that's got to improve as well. Um, Before you can even think about winning a league, you have to be consistently finishing high in the league as well. And you got to be playing well, got to be putting in good performances. It's one of those ones, it's like if you're playing really well, making a lot of opportunities, and you're not scoring the goals. If you have 10 shots on target every match for 2 or 3 matches and you don't score, eventually the goals will come. It's the law of averages. But if you're not playing well, you're not working hard, you're not creating opportunities and getting your shots off, then you're in the position where it might not eventually just come off for you. It mightn't. Irfan says, Sporting, you watch a game, Antonio Silva, 100 million is like a lot of money. Yeah, look, Antonio Silva would be a big purchase. I think Diamond has a buyout of around 65, 68 million. I think that could be the guy to go for. But I love watching Sporting Lisbon. I think Ruben Amorim is a really, really good manager, and they play a good style of football with some very, very good young players in that team as well. But yeah, look, guys, that is pretty much us done. Let me have another check just to make sure we haven't got any other news stories coming out as well. Just a quick check as well. Any more thoughts, guys? Make sure you get them in down below. Martin is asking, is Radcliffe a negotiation tactic? I think he's seriously in for Manchester United, but I feel like both those teams, sorry, both those parties are kind of finding themselves in that position where they're both being used as a negotiation tactic. And look, you will see this. Whenever the Glazers have Radcliffe on one side and Qatar on the other, and they say, Jim, the Qataris have offered 5 billion. You need to offer more. And then Radcliffe comes in with a bid, and then they call up the Qataris and say, Radcliffe just made his bid better. Now you got to improve yours. And it's a constant back and forth. Now we've been stuck on a stalemate. Qatar have made their final offer. The Glazers are sitting on it. At the minute, Radcliffe is trying to offer every kind of deal possible. He's asking for Tesco club cards. He's looking Nectar points. He's looking Texaco and BP points. He's trying his very best. He's even going through McDonald's looking for Monopoly stickers to try convince the Glazer family to take his offer. I still think they're waiting for the Qataris. I think the Qataris would have pulled out, and I think the Glazers would have outright refused the last bid if it wasn't going to be enough at some point. I think they're trying to get every last penny out of it, but at some point it's going to become clear and obvious that it's gonna have to happen. I think it will happen. I think they will sell. I think Qatar probably are in the best position for it, but Radcliffe could still come in with some sort of offer that the Glazers find more appealing to themselves. And I think that's the more important thing. Sinkin says, this season by miracle we finished top four. I would like to see Ten Hag get rid of 6 players. Lindelof, Maguire, Ericsson, McTominay, Martial, and get 6 top players who are warriors. Yeah, look, it comes down to mentality as well, man. Absolutely. I think we can add more than just 6 players. I think there's a lot more we could add to that list. I think you could look at Varane. I think you could look at Casemiro for sure. I think there's question marks over Marcus Rashford, perhaps. What happens with Sancho as well? Does he go? So there could be a lot more than 6 players go as well. But yeah, guys, I'm going to leave the stream here. So thanks so much for watching as well. Probably going to record a video tomorrow. So we'll try to get that up sometime tomorrow evening as well. There might not be a live show tomorrow, but we will be back on Wednesday for the live as always. So thanks so much for joining in tonight, guys, and keep an eye out for a video hopefully dropping tomorrow. All right, guys, thanks so much for watching. Hope all you guys had a good Monday. Hope Tuesday goes well as well for you guys, and let's hope we get some more Manchester United news by the time we next get to talk to each other. All right, guys, thanks so much for watching. Have a good one, and I'll see you guys in the next one.